And we're ready for part 2. As you can tell, this is what I have so far with 12 rows. I have weaved in these ends because they drive me nuts. I don't like leaving them till the end. And once I finish this next section, I will once again weave them in. This is what we have so far for our pattern. And I have a copy of part 1 up on Google Documents, and you'll be able to download that if you want that first part written out. If not, then you can wait till it's all finished and there'll be a final one with the entire thing. Okay, so there we go with that part. And now apparently you guys have decided to give me an absolute challenge. These are the results that we had. Well, come on, focus. Get this out of the way. This is the results we had for the pole. And as you can see, front post double crochet, got 12. And then the second one is the one that's going to be a challenge. Come on, focus. I'll bring that down a little bit. And we'll get it centered right there. Come on, focus, focus. Okay, the second one is the double crochet 3 together, and that's a challenge. The half double crochet or puff bubble, those are that big a deal. The rest of them aren't that big a deal. And we have the last one being the 5 double shell. Maybe we'll put that as our last row. So let's get ready to start this next row. And at this point, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I am going to put a stitch marker on this side to let me know this is the front. And as we get to the puffs and the bobbles, you'll understand why, especially if you've already done them. What I have taken is, this was a knit stitch marker, and these little light bulb type fasteners actually work great to turn it into one for crochet. So I'm just going to add it here on the front. Maybe. And there, that lets me know that this is the front of this now. Okay. My next color of yarn, if I can find the end of it, is going to be that pretty blue and white. And I've got it over here to the side, so of course it's going to tangle, be difficult. But this is the next color that I'm going to use. I'm going to bring this up a little bit, just because this is a webcam. Webcams don't necessarily like close-up work. But I'm going to start with a slip knot. Attach that in, and then we're going to join. Going to join in that first stitch right there with a slip knot. Now at this point, I do tighten this tail up a little bit, and then we're going to chain 3, And we are going to go ahead and put a double crochet into that first one. That's our first increase. Now the next row, the next stitch, we're going to actually start that front post. Going to wrap around, going to wrap around the front of that post. You're going to go in from the right to the left and do a double crochet. Now the next stitch, we're actually going to put in a regular double crochet. And you'll see why we do that for the next row. And again, we're just going to repeat around front post and a regular double crochet into the next front post. And that was a stitch that had some extra fluff. I just haven't trimmed out the fluff yet. That's fairly simple to do. Next stitch, double crochet. Front post. Let's pull this up a little bit. See if we can keep it from doing its little trying to focus. Double crochet into the next stitch. Front post. And since this cowl is basically your shawl, you could actually do a back post, but I'm not going to. I'm going to simply alternate between the front post and the double crochet all the way across. Get a little bit more yarn up here. Oops. I don't know if any of you watched Happy Berry's video today, but I thought it was rather interesting. She took you behind the scenes for filming. And she showed how she set up and how she filmed. And some of us have a little different setup, but it's pretty much just like she pictured it. You know, I don't have a fancy camera yet. Hoping to get one of those one of these days. You know, when I become a millionaire. Okay, kidding, guys. But anyway, it was a very interesting video because you got to see the way the people do tutorials. Now, a lot of these I do, my camera is right here, and I'm reaching around the camera. I've also done it where my camera is over on that side of the table, and then I just rotate the film in my editing program. And that's nice too, because you don't have to worry about reaching around the camera. Which, quite amazingly, can cause a lot of back problems. As you see, we've come to this last stitch here before we get to the chain 1 space. I am going to go ahead and do a front post double crochet around that, and then I'm going to do my normal 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, now, if you remember, what I talked about is what you do on this side, you repeat on this side. Get some more yarn up here. And so, since we went around the front post, we're going to go around the front post again. Remember, you're going to go behind the stitch from right to left and do a double crochet. And yeah, you do pull up a little bit on that thread yarn. And once again, we're just going to alternate to the last stitch. So if you haven't gone to see how Happy Berry sets up for her tutorials, it's worth a look, see? So you can see what some folks go through to get these tutorials up. I thought it was rather interesting because knowing that she is in Britain, you know, she's not going to have a real lot of good sunny days. So, because they are known for this time of year for it to be a lot of overcast days. So to see her put up those umbrella lights was fairly interesting. I don't use an umbrella light, I use ring lights, because it makes that much equipment a little easier to manage. I hope you guys are enjoying the crochet along. I've been finding it interesting. I was laughing when I saw the second choice, because that does make it a little more challenging. Because as you know, a double crochet 3 together is a decrease, and it decreases 2 stitches. So since it decreases, you have to increase somewhere. That's going to be fun for us to play with. And then once again, we're up to that last stitch, and we're going to put 2 double crochets into it. And I'm going to pull that up a minute, because I think we should go ahead and write that down. So here's the notebook. And this, oops, this is row 13. See, even I get screwed up. We're going to chain 3, double crochet in same stitch, front post double crochet. I don't know why I always write around, but I always do. And then double crochet in next stitch. Now we're going to change the pattern writing up a little bit more because I'm going to add something in that was not actually in any of the conversions. I am going to put an asterisk and I am going to write DC in next stitch, comma, front post double crochet around next stitch, and then I'm going to put an asterisk, and I'm going to put a comment, and I'm going to repeat star, and actually I need to put 2 double asterisks. Repeat the 1 asterisk to the double asterisk, 2, chain 1, space, comma, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet in chain 1 space, comma. Then I'm going to put front post double crochet around next stitch, and then I am going to put an asterisk. And a lot of people would just put down here 2 the double, but I like to write it out a second time. Double crochet, next stitch, front post double crochet around next stitch, comma, and then I would put 1, oops, don't want to do that now. I'll put repeat from asterisk to double asterisk, gotta remember to put that double asterisk over there, to last stitch, comma, 2 double crochet in last stitch. I want to go ahead and write round 14. Now if you guys didn't do to 14, that's perfectly fine. It's just your stitch count's going to be a little different, and that's perfectly fine. And once again, we're going to chain 3 and turn. And I'm going to put 2 double crochets, one double crochet into that same stitch. Now you'll notice your front post is here, and this almost looks like a back post. Now you can do one of two things. You could actually do a double crochet into the next one, and then do a front post around that next stitch, previous front post. And then you could do a double crochet into the next stitch. Which you would be alternating. And then around that front post. Let's flip it over for a second. Do you like the way that looks? I do not. To me it looks a little messy. So I'm going to go back to where I had put that other crochet in, and I'm actually going to do a front post around it. And then a single crochet into the previous front post double crochet, and then another front post, single crochet, double crochet. See? Do I even know where I'm at today? And I'm just going to repeat that to the chain one space, and this is what you're going to see. You're going to see a little bit of different texture. So you've got a front post here that sticks out. Your next stitch over would stick out. I kind of like that look a little bit better, but it's your shawl. Do it the way you want to. And I've got to get some more yarn up here. And I need to cut because I have some more color coming in. And then get another bit of that blue and white. And I'm going to get it untangled, because like I said, it's over here all tangled up. See my nice little tangle? And I actually think I'm going to go ahead and cut it there. Now there are two ways that you can actually add some yarn in, but I'm going to show you when I get to that point how I do mine. I do a sort of kind of Russian join. Okay. Front post, double crochet into the next stitch, front post, double crochet into the next stitch, front post, double crochet into the next stitch, front post, double crochet, and you'll just keep doing that. You see I have just a little bit of tail left. Whoops, sorry about that. Hit the camera. When I do a Russian join, There are two ways you can do it. You can actually take I think I'd do a couple more stitches first. Front post, double crochet. Okay, now we're a little bit better. Normally when you do a Russian join, you would actually use a needle to take this tail and weave it back this way. I do a little bit of a cheater method, and I just hold it in that position and go ahead and crochet. Now, then when I get with this, I will take that needle and probably weave it in, or I may just cut it off. And yes, I know those two stitches are thicker, but generally once you get the shawl finished, most people cannot find it unless they start hunting for it. That is just my cheat. And why am I cheating? Because I don't have a needle up here. And like I said, you're just going to alternate that all the way around to that chain 2 space. Chain 2 space. It's a chain 1, folks. I was working on a pattern this morning that had a chain 2 space, so I just keep going back to that in my head, and I know that's not right. That's not what we did for this pattern. And we've got to those 2 points. We're going to do a front double crochet around that one, and then a regular double crochet into the top of this one. And then we'll do our 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and of course now we have to repeat what we did here. So we did a double crochet into that first one, and then we did a front post around the next one, double crochet into that one, front post, and I'm going to continue on until I get to the last stitch, and I'll meet you up when I get there. Okay, I'm up to the last 4 stitches, so we'll do those together. And front post around that second to last stitch, and then 2 double crochets into the top of that chain 3. And there you've got your increase. Now we need to write this down. So we'll get our pen out. And of course we did a chain 3, double crochet in same stitch, comma, and then we did a front post, double crochet around the next stitch, and then we did a double crochet in next stitch, and this again is where you could put the asterisks, which I will probably do. Put the asterisks that you're going to just repeat that front post around the next, double crochet the next till you get to the end, and yeah, until you get to the chain 2 space, and then you'll put your regular double 2 there, and then I would change it up for the writing to put front post double crochet around the next stitch. You know, after we've done, well, actually we've done the 2, you would do this single crochet in the next and then the front post, and I would just write that out for the second part until we got to the end, and I'll show you how we did that on the next little go around. Actually, I guess I should go ahead and write it out, shouldn't I? Front post double crochet around next stitch, double crochet in next stitch, 2 asterisks, and then repeat from asterisk to the double asterisk to chain 1 space, comma, 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet, and chain 1 space, and then the very next stitch will be a double crochet in next stitch, and then a front post double crochet around next stitch, and then I would put an asterisk, double crochet in next stitch, front post double crochet around next stitch, double asterisk, and then I would put repeat from asterisk to double asterisk to, and this is where we got in, we had the front post, and then the next stitch was our chain 3, so we can put last stitch, 2 double crochet in top of chain 3 stitch, or you could write it last stitch. I did forget to put the stitch counts here. normally when I write those stitch counts, and I also needed to make a correction because, let me get my paper, sorry for the rustling. Because when I did 12 rows, I didn't get 76, I actually got 78. But we know we increased by 6 stitches, so on row 13, our stitch count would be 84 double crochet, 1 chain 1. Then this one would be 88 double crochet, 1 chain 1. Then our next row would be row 15, which we already know we're going to do a chain 3 and double crochet in the same stitch. So then, we've got our row 15, chain 3, of course turn. Always forget to put the turn. I just figure most people know to turn automatically. Going to put a double crochet into that same stitch. Now, here we're going to look at it. Now, because this has got so much color in it, you're not going to be able to see it. If you've used a plain color, you'll actually see where it provides a little bit of texture. You've got a nice line bump here, and then you've got some texture along this way, where you've got a recessed up stitch that pops up. But because we alternated, we provided this nice little ridge here. Now, we can do one of two things. We could just do a double crochet all the way to the next row, like we did rows 1 through 12, or we could actually go back into this and start our alternating between the front post and the double crochet. Now normally you would go ahead and do a front post around this, but then we're going to get into a little bit of changing up our texture, which that is perfectly fine because it'll provide a second texture on the back. Or, you see, I'm giving you alternatives because this is your shawl. You have to decide what looks best. Or you could do a double crochet into that front post, which is what we were doing on the other side, and a front post around that next stitch, and then a double crochet into the next, front post around the next, and that's going to change up our texture a little bit. But then it also gives that nice little ridge on the back side. So this is where I'm going to tell you to do what you want to do, what looks best with your yarn. That is why I have named this the Wild Cow, because it's one of those where you can change it up however you want to change it up. For me, I think I'm going to put the front post around that next stitch and then do a single in that next, just because I would like to see that ridge in a different area. So I'm going to go back because that's what I've decided to do. Now I'm going to do a front post around my next stitch and a single crochet into the next. And if you'll notice, that is exactly what we did on row 14. So you could basically, when you're writing your rows, you could just repeat that row, but just change your last numbers for your stitch count. And I am going to work this up to the chain 1 space, and then I will join up with you again and we'll kind of look at it. Can flip it over so you can see what it's doing. It's creating that ridge on the back. Don't know if you can see that, but it creates a little bit of a ridge, just like it created a little bit of ridge on the previous row. So I'm going to stop here and finish up to heading up to that chain 1 space, and then we'll get then I'll tell you what we do when we get closer to that point. Okay, I'm up to the last 2 stitches before the chain 1 stitch, and I've done a double crochet into this stitch, so I am going to put a front post around this stitch and a double crochet into this one, and then I am going to put my regular 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets, and again, now we are at this point where we have to do the same thing, so I'm going to put that double crochet into the next, front post around the next, double crochet into the next, and front post around, and we'll just continue that till we get the other edge. I hope that this is helping you guys to learn to read patterns, since we're writing it out as we go. Now, I do know that I write my patterns a little differently than a lot of people, but the main thing that you want to remember is the comma will help you, just like in regular speech. When there's a comma, you take a breath. So when you see that in a pattern, then you know that is the next step to work in that pattern. These are all steps. In between each comma is a step. That is the way that I have always looked at it. I did not have anyone to teach me how to read patterns. I kind of figured it out on my own because I thought, in normal life, when you're reading, comma is the point where you are to take a breath. So I would stop, take a breath, and do the next thing till the next comma. That helped me so much when reading a pattern, was to keep that in mind. And like I said, I had to learn all on my own. I had no one available to teach me. But for some reason, like I said, it just clicked. When you take that breath, Then you move on to the next part of the sentence. So for me, it made sense. That's what you do with patterns when you're reading a pattern. Oops. Looked up at my screen to see what I was doing and missed the stitch. And now we're coming up to those last 3. But it should end just like the other one did. With, oh boy, I made that tight. Two double crochets into that last top of the chain 3. I get it in there? Doesn't look like I did it? Okay. And there ends that one. Like I said, this row happened to be the same as the other row. You'll notice it does not look like you're increasing. That is because you get a natural curve with double crochets and 2 double crochets in the end. However, when you go to block it out, you'll be able to bring that chain 3, this row right here, out. As you can see, I'm doing it with my finger. And then when you block this end, you'll automatically bring that out so that you will get straighter edges. And I am going to do 3 more rows of this. So that's going to add on another 18 to this 6, which will be another 24. Added to this. In other words, you're going to increase 6, 6, 6, and you will, this row here that we're working on, 15, would actually be 94 stitches, and then you'd have 2 more rows, 3 more rows that would add 18 to that, which would be 100 and, what is that, 94, another 18, would make that 112 stitches for that last one. And that's what I'm going to do until the next section, which you guys have really challenged me with this one, because I have to determine what kind of bridges we're going to put in there. Anyway, I hope this has helped you a little bit, and I hope you're enjoying the cowl. And I will see you again next Tuesday. Everybody have a great week, and remember, practice kindness.